Good day, second year students. Today we are going to do an essay by A.G. Gardner, and the title of the essay is on superstitions. Superstitions, what we call in Hindi, Andhvishwas. So it is a very interesting essay by A.G. Gardner, and this essay is an attack on the prevalence of superstitious belief even in the modern age. So, this essay deals upon the theme that though we have become modern, though we call ourselves educated and scientific and people with scientific approach, still we are superstitious in some way or the other. But nowadays superstition is not as serious as it used to be, but we don't accept that we are superstitious, but we are. So he refers to the city of London, and he says that in the age of science and technology, where rationality should prevail, some people are still superstitious about number 13. And even in India, we think that number 13 is not good. We prefer number 11 or number 12, but we never prefer number 13. So he prefers to various such other situations from the past and present to argue how dangers have been invited in on account of superstitions in the past. The author therefore urges us critically examine the existing notions to differentiate between facts and superstitions. So, the summary of para 1 is that the author begins by reporting a murder which has taken place at the house with number 13 in a street. Now, because a murder has taken place on a house number 13, so it would become a sensation. Why? Because everybody will say that number 13 is not good, so that is why that murder took place in number 13. But if we take out the history of murders, we will find that as much of murders have been committed in number 11 or number 100 or number 99, whatever, or 6 or 7. But when the turn of number 13 comes, everybody thinks that yes, because it was number 13, that is why murder took place. And similarly, people tend to refuse to buy a house whose number is 13, and might refrain from joining a dinner party which would be joined by 13 people. We, being modern men, might not accept that we are superstitious, but it is truth, because we would be more inclined to live in house number 11 or house number 12. Now, in modern age, we won't decline our dinner if we are invited to have a seat on number 13, but we will feel happy, a little bit satisfied, that if somebody got ill and our number shifted to 12. So nowadays we are not so much superstitious as in the old age people were, but now we hide from the people, and sometimes we even don't accept to ourselves that we are superstitious. So, para second. Now, the para second says that there are various signs to prove that we are still superstitious. The author says that we may not accept to ourselves that we are superstitious, but he gives us signs that yes, you are superstitious still in the modern age of science and technology, because he gives evidence that still in this age also there are streets in London and other big towns of the world where there is no number 13 house, or in hospitals there is no number 13 bed. And in hospitals we can understand that it is good that they don't have a bed with number 13, because already a patient who is admitted to a hospital, he is already in a low vitality condition, and if he looks back that and he realizes that if he realizes that I am lying on bed number 13, psychologically he would lose his control on himself, and maybe he will die. Now he says that when he realizes, this patient realizes, he may have this negative effect. And the author, however, asked to give concession to the superstition to avoid bed number 13 in hospital, because it is related to life and death. He says that it is good that it is not there, the number 13 is not there, because physical recovery is more concern of mental state than fitness of body. He refers to the lady with the lamp, Florence Nightingale, who passionately advocated that when you go to meet a sick person, you should take bouquet of flowers, so that looking at those beautiful flowers, those flowers will arouse a zeal to live, the desire to live in the heart of the patient. So he says that it boosts positivity because it has got a psychological effect also, and it helps in fast recovery of health. Gardner then mentions the French author M.D., who served as a doctor in the World War I, and he recorded in his writings that how a man who was badly injured in the battlefield, and he was about to be saved, but he died just because of a pimple on his nose. And it is very strange. Why? Because he discovered that he was kept in bed number 13, and this was sufficient for him to lose his confidence and willpower to survive, and he died. And in nutshell, he died of neither war injuries nor the pimple, but he died of the superstition. And here I would like to refer to the story The Last Leaf. The Last Leaf is a story in which it is shown that the lady who has contracted pneumonia was lying in a bed, and she has associated her health with the leaves of the plant outside her window. She was thinking that with every falling leaf, her health is also falling, and in the end, only the last leaf remains. And she thought that if that leaf also falls, then I would surely die. But the end of the story is that the other roommate, she calls a painter to paint the real lifelike leaf. It was a fake leaf, so that a patient friend of her could see that the leaf has not fallen and she could recover. So recovery is also a part of mental state, of psychology. In paragraph 3, Gardner says that it is very difficult for him to claim to be absolutely free from superstition, but he would like to experiment with few popular superstitious beliefs to test their validity. He says that even I can't say that I am totally immune to superstitions. He shares that he often used to travel by the bus number 13, and the bus number 13 was most civic like other buses, but he never felt any inconvenience while traveling the bus. The next scrutiny made by the author is that of the notion associated with standing ladder in the house. He suggests that we should prefer to walk around it rather than under it. In reality, there is a superstition that we should not walk under the ladder. But the author says that I generally walk around the ladder because I am careful of my family. I care for my family, and because if something happens to me, then what will become of my family? So, he says that the prohibition to walk under the ladder is largely due to safety concerns, and there is no superstition linked to it. He warns us that our examination of such notions should be proportionate and justified, so that we don't fall in danger just to flaunt our disbelief in superstition. To quote him, no doubt many of our superstitions have these commonplace and sensible origins. To extend the idea, he says that the Jewish objection to pork is that it is not healthy for them in that climatic conditions to eat pork. So we see that a lot of superstitions, they are grounded in some logic. Now, in paragraph 4, he says that there is again an extension of the previous idea regarding the standing ladder. Gardner says that the only way to overcome the dilemma to move around the ladder or to move under the ladder is to move through the ladder. Now, it is a very absurd idea, and here we find a touch of humor in it. We know that nobody can walk through the ladder. Similarly, he prefers to see the moon through the naked eyes than through the glass. Here too, he questions various superstitions that we practice in our day to day life, but at the same time, it is very difficult for him also to be completely immune for him, and he accepts that he is not totally immune to him, though he does not accept it in public. There are a lot of superstitions even in our life. We educated people of society, even we think that this color should be worn on Monday and this color is not good and this is good. And some popular superstitions are that if we sneeze, we should not go to work for some time, we should stop for some time. So there are some popular superstitions which are a part of life even in our educated beings. Now in paragraph 5, to quote, but these shadowy reminiscences of antique credulity. Antique means of the past ages. Credulity means belief. So those people in the past ages, they used to have faith in these superstitions because till then there was no scientific exploration. So it was natural for them to believe that thunder is the anger of God, or rain is the joy of blessing of God. So here is though a practice of ancient time, but it still exists because we believe in it. It should be an outdated thing today because it doesn't do any good to us. Now, it was believed that this will vanish from the world after discovering the laws of universe with the help of science, but it did not happen because we have been in a habit of having faith in these superstitions. Now, to be superstitious during those days was acceptable to some extent because for those people, scientific researches and scientific discoveries and inventions were not done. They were not exposed to science. But when because the functions of nature was unexplored and nothing was under human control, man in ancient time used to predict everything on the basis of natural phenomena, like the fate in clouds, happiness or misery in the flight of birds, etc. You remember, 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for friend. We used to see the birds and say that these refer to something. Then he mentions those incidents of past in which the fate turned completely the other way just because of people's faith in superstitious ideas. Now, the Greek historian Thucydides mentions the postponement of battle simply because the leaf fell against it. The battle was postponed. Why? Because it was thought that it is not good to go for a battle because people saw some leaf while starting on the war, but they lost the war. Now, paragraph 5. Now, when Pompey was the Roman general who fought against Caesar, he was afraid that Romans would elect Cato. Cato was a Roman Stoic philosopher supported by Pompey against Caesar as praetor, Roman general. He shouted in the assembly that he heard thunder. Now, because he was afraid that he would lose the election, so he shouted in the assembly that he heard the thunder, so the election should be postponed, because it was a popular superstition that no business was carried out after somebody heard a thunder. Now, can you imagine such things now? No. So, since Romans would never proceed for any work of importance if there is a thunder, the election got postponed. The great Alexander too believed in the words of fortune tellers. Now, even Alexander the Great used to go to fortune tellers to seek their divine guidance. The essay then cites the case of the great Roman statesman, orator, and lawyer Cicero, who left his life to be decided by superstitions. He believed in the signals given by crows and lost his life while he could have saved it in the battle with Antony and Caesar. Not only this, the farmers of the ancient Greece also depended much on the oracles and soothsayers instead of trusting their farming skills, unlike the modern day farmers who care more for the manures and fertilizers. So, like the modern farmer, they care only for fertilizers and manures, but the old farmers used to go to soothsayers to seek the to know about the proper time of irrigation or proper time of sowing seeds. Paragraph 6 is the concluding paragraph. In this paragraph, the essayist beautifully sums up his argument by saying that he too would have loved to see Caesar and heard the oration of Cicero, but he might not have enjoyed the age which was covered by the darkness of superstitions and oracles. He said that in the old age, great people lived, so I would have liked to be their contemporary, but I would not like to be superstitious like them. I would not like to be clouded by superstition. I would like to live in this modern era where most of the scientific laws are explored. Now, then he tells us that we are fortunate that we live in a modern age which is scientific, with scientific belief, which is governed by knowledge and reason. And it is better to rejoice light where there is no darkness, when there is no darkness. He quotes from Dynasts, authored by great Victorian age novelist Thomas Hardy, to say that certainly our forefathers were great visionaries, but we are blessed that we are no more governed by the shadow of the strange beliefs of their time. At least we do not look for instructions for our life in the animals and crows like them. And the best thing is that the House of Commons, the lower house of the Parliament of UK, is not adjourned, suspended, merely because of the roaring of thunder. In other words, he says that modern age of science and reason should enable us to examine the relevance and validity of superstition notion, so that we don't get guided by these irrelevant ideas and practices. Now, uh, Gardner's prose style is very clear, and he gives many examples while putting forward his points, and his way of expression is very clear, lucid, and interesting also, and it also has a touch of humor in it. Now, there are elements of satire also in this essay when he says that even in this scientific age, we are still superstitious. Thank you so much.